High upon the rolling hills of the Santa Lucia Mountains in California, where the sun sinks into the Pacific in a blaze of blood red and gold, a colossal silhouette rises through the morning mist. Hearst Castle, or as it was affectionately known, La Cuesta Encantada, the Enchanted Hill. In the 1920s, while America was still reeling from the Great War and roaring through the reckless delirium of the Jazz Age, nearly 200 miles from the prying eyes of Los Angeles, one man decided to build a private kingdom. That man was William Randolph Hearst, the most powerful press baron the United States had ever seen, the man who turned news into a weapon, public opinion into gold, and himself into the living embodiment of the American dream taken to its most extravagant extreme. Born in 1863 in San Francisco to a fortune built on silver mines and political influence, Hearst grew up surrounded by luxury, yet it was ambition, not inheritance, that truly shaped him. At age 23, he took over the San Francisco Examiner from his father and transformed it into a ferocious machine of sensationalism, what the world would come to call yellow journalism. He didn't just report the news, he manufactured it. He whipped up such hysteria for the Spanish-American War of 1898 that Congress almost had no choice but to declare it. His legendary quip to artist Frederick Remington, "You furnish the pictures, and I'll furnish the war," became immortal. By the early 20th century, Hearst owned nearly 30 major newspapers in every important city, 2 wire services, dozens of magazines, and a radio station. His empire generated more than $15 million a year, an amount that would approach $400 million in today's money. Cash poured in like a waterfall. But money was never enough for Hearst. He wanted something money couldn't buy outright: immortality. And he chose to forge it in concrete, in Carrara marble shipped from Italy, in 500-year-old Persian rugs, in ancient Greek and Roman statues he purchased entire collections of from bankrupt European aristocrats after the Great War. The San Simeon Hill had once been the family's childhood camping ground, where his mother, Phoebe Apperson Hearst, used to take little Willie horseback riding above the ocean. In 1919, at the age of 56, Hearst wrote to the brilliant architect Julia Morgan, the first woman to graduate from the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, with a deceptively modest sentence that concealed a mad dream. "Miss Morgan, we are tired of camping out in the open at the ranch in San Simeon. I would like to build a little something." That little something would eventually cost him $10 million, nearly $200 million in today's currency, and take almost 28 years to reach any semblance of completion. From 1919 to 1947, hundreds of workers toiled night and day. Ships laden with building materials and antiquities docked continuously at San Simeon. Julia Morgan, small, severe, always dressed in black, drew and redrew more than 500 plans. Hearst fired off thousands of telegrams from New York, from Europe, even from ocean liners, just to move a doorway 6 inches or demand another swimming pool. He wanted everything perfect, timeless, breathtaking. And the world truly held its breath when the first guests arrived at the top of the hill in the late 1920s. The skies above San Simeon in the 1930s were so clear you could sometimes see all the way to the Sierra Nevada in the east. From the main gates, a 5-mile serpentine road wound upward through golden grasslands where thousands of zebras, antelope, and elk, imported from Africa, roamed freely across what was then the largest private zoo on Earth. When the cars finally crested the hill, the first thing that struck visitors was the main house, Casa Grande, with its twin Gothic towers inspired by a cathedral in Ronda, Spain. 115 rooms, 38 bedrooms, 42 bathrooms, a private movie theater, 2 libraries holding more than 7,000 rare books, and ceilings carved from 15th-century European monasteries. Yet San Simeon was never merely a house. It was an immense stage, and Hearst was its unrivaled director. Every weekend, private planes from Los Angeles and New York ferried in the most powerful people on the planet: Charlie Chaplin, Winston Churchill, Cary Grant, Greta Garbo, George Bernard Shaw, Calvin Coolidge. They were greeted with flowing Dom Perignon, with feasts that lasted until dawn beside the magnificent Neptune Pool, lined with ancient Greek statues and filled with water pumped directly from the Pacific. Hearst sat at the head of a 60-foot dining table, still wearing his riding clothes, calmly surveying his glittering guests while his mistress, the golden-haired actress Marion Davies, the love of his life, poured champagne and told jokes that made the table roar. Here, the concept of money simply did not exist. Everything was free, including the gifts Hearst bestowed on a whim: a Rolls-Royce, a Rembrandt, a thoroughbred horse. But beneath the opulence ran iron rules. No one was allowed to appear drunk before 10 p.m. Politics was forbidden at dinner on pain of immediate banishment from the table, and no one, absolutely no one, entered Hearst's private rooms without permission. He controlled every detail, from the temperature of the pools to the placement of every statue. Staff were trained to vanish like ghosts the moment he walked down a corridor. While the rest of America stood in breadlines during the Great Depression, on this hill, Hearst continued spending $1 million a year just to keep the dream alive. He bought an entire 700-year-old Spanish monastery, had it dismantled brick by brick, shipped across the Atlantic, and rebuilt in California. He bought ceilings from Italian palaces, entire medieval villages in France, just for their oak doors. His warehouses in the Bronx, 12 of them, overflowed with treasures. Chase Manhattan opened a private branch just to handle Hearst's accounts. Rumor had it that if he wanted, he could have bought the country of Belgium outright. But cracks were already forming in the empire, cracks that Hearst refused to see. In 1937, while the Neptune Pool still shimmered under the California sun and laughter still echoed through Casa Grande, in the headquarters of the Hearst Corporation in New York, accountants began to sweat. Debt had soared past $126 million, a catastrophic figure at a time when the entire American economy lay in ruins. The very sensational press Hearst had invented now turned on him. Political enemies, rival newspapers, and old grudges attacked without mercy. People began calling him the richest man in the world who is going bankrupt. The cause was painfully simple. Hearst had never learned the word no. He bought whatever caught his eye without glancing at the price. When the stock market crashed in 1929, he kept borrowing to acquire more antiquities. When advertising revenue collapsed during the Depression, he refused to cut expenses, refused to lay off workers, and above all, refused to stop building San Simeon. He believed that just one more painting, one more statue, one more wing would make everything right again. In 1938, he wrote to Julia Morgan, "We only need to finish a few more small details." But the banks had run out of patience. In August 1937, Chase National Bank and the other major creditors delivered an ultimatum. Either Hearst voluntarily submitted to a financial receivership committee, or they would publicly declare him bankrupt, an event unprecedented for a man of his stature. Hearst, the man who once made presidents listen, now sat pale-faced in a New York boardroom while a man 30 years his junior read aloud the list of his debts. He was 74 years old. To save what remained, Hearst was forced to sell the things he loved most. Thousands of artworks were auctioned off at Gimbel's and Saks Fifth Avenue for pennies on the dollar. Botticelli's Madonna of the Roses purchased for $400,000, sold for $18,000. An entire armor collection vanished in a single afternoon. Even the zebras of San Simeon were sold to zoos. Employees were let go by the thousands, newspapers closed or sold off. Marion Davies, now a middle-aged woman, was seen quietly writing a personal check for $1 million to cover her lover's debts, even as her own fortune crumbled. San Simeon, the dream of a lifetime, was almost completely shuttered. The Neptune Pool was drained. Dust gathered in the opulent rooms. Hearst moved into a modest house in Beverly Hills, where he spent his days staring out the window, clutching Julia Morgan's final telegram. "I am very sorry, Mr. Hearst, but we cannot go on." William Randolph Hearst died on August 14, 1951, in Beverly Hills, in the arms of Marion Davies, at the age of 88. He no longer owned San Simeon. In 1957, the Hearst family donated the entire hill and castle to the state of California. Today, Hearst Castle is a National Historic Landmark, welcoming more than 1 million visitors a year. The Neptune Pool is full once more. The statues gleam again under the sun, and somewhere in the vast corridors, you can almost still hear the laughter of Chaplin, Garbo, and Churchill. But if you listen closely, you can hear something else too. The quiet sigh of a man who had everything, who built the most beautiful kingdom humanity had ever seen, and then watched it slip away simply because he could not stop. Hearst did not merely build a house, he erected a monument to human ambition, the kind of ambition that creates wonders and, in the same breath, brings silent tragedy. On that hill, between the Pacific and the California sky, La Cuesta Encantada still stands, quietly reminding us that even the greatest empires must one day face their own shadows. And perhaps that is the most expensive lesson William Randolph Hearst ever left behind. Not gold, not marble, but the sober warning that the peak of power is sometimes only one fragile step away from the abyss of collapse.